There's one change I'd like to make on Rhonda's introduction, and one that I think is very important and instructive maybe for this day. I have become a co-director of the Kansas Sampler Foundation. And the reason I want to mention that is the reason we did it. We did it because we want the Kansas Sampler Foundation to be strong for decades to come. And we wanted to do it before, you know, I'm just like, peace out, like. And I'm not going anywhere for a while, and Wendy's also involved, who snuck in on the back. But we wanted to be very strategic about it because we think our work has been good, and we wanted it to continue. And here's the extremely exciting part. The co-director we have found, who is Sarah Green, has already in the first 67 days, I would say, has taken our organization from good to great. And I could not be more excited about it. If you received the Big Rural Brainstorm e-blast, I think the reason it sold out in 72 hours was probably the tweaking that Sarah did to it. I think we've done good work for 30 years, but I am so excited for the great work to come. And I wanted to say that because of this. First of all, this group is really unique. I don't know that any other region has brought 100% of their counties together, maybe for any reason. You think that's right? So that's really cool. And you've got Dane Hansen, and I don't know if you know how many other counties are really jealous. But that, how does that go? To who great things are given, great responsibility. So I want to challenge you to level up your organization to match this incredibly opportune, rich time where the state is producing so many opportunities and your region is as well. Now, and that's why I said what I did about the co-directorship. Sometimes giving up a little bit of space really adds to it in every wonderful way. But I want you to think about that, and I want you to do a self-check on each of you right now. The question might be, what could I do to level up my part in taking advantage of all these fantastic and maybe temporary or not temporary, but I think there's an era right now in Northwest Kansas. So ask yourself, am I involved because I love it? I mean, I think it's important to ask the question, why? Sarah's got that in me now. She says, what's the why? Why are we doing this project? Why are we doing it this way? Why are we doing this event? Why do we, just why? Why are you here today? And I think the why is because you want your community to be the best it can be. And sometimes we just go to these things because we were invited. And it's so easy to forget the why because it's so broad and we kind of live in it. But I think it's really important to ask that and then to try to be the best you can be in that, living up to that purpose. So I want to ask you about your organization, about your organization. Does it have all the right people on the right seats of the bus? You individually, are you responsive when people ask you things? good at reframing, which is my favorite term. Reframing means if someone at a meeting brings up a topic, Doug, the cafes, this happens all the time. I don't know if you could reframe cafe talk, but that would be great. You know, a group is talking and somebody says something that pulls it all down, like, we've always done it this way. And what if we all had a yellow card in our back pocket or the reframe to insist that we can't talk that way? It doesn't mean we can't address tough issues, but we do it in a way that is constructive. And so if you reframe somebody, you have to help them look at that issue in a way that can keep the discussion going forward. And I'd also challenge us to do this work because of the joy that there can be when you live in a community that is awesome. I think we should level up our expectations to have an awesome community, not just, you know, it's pretty good to live in. Things are going fairly well, but we still have the outsiders, and you all are here because in a way you're the influencers. You are all people who have some title that can make a difference in your community. I guess maybe I'll ask you this question now. Would you raise your hand if you're part of a community foundation? I just want to check. Okay. Would you raise your hand if you're more on the economic development side of things? Or raise your hand again. Raise your hand if you live in a community that does not have a city manager or city administrator. And keep those hands up for a second. Hi, Kelly. Say your town really loud and clear.
Lincoln County.
Are you going to say Beverly too?
Beverly, Barnes, Sylvan Grove.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you all have a lot. Pick one. Moreland. Portland. Holyrood. Who else had their hand up? Yes, Joan. Kensington. Yes. Denmark. Lissa. Weskin. Back there. Downs. Clyde. Logan. Cawker City. Yes. Bogue. Okay, I have to say I have an affection for the volunteer-led communities in Kansas. Did you know that we probably have 475 of our 627 that are volunteer-led? That's 75%. And you know what? A lot of people who live in those really small towns love living there. This young man, Lucas, lives in Moreland, and he just loves living in Moreland, probably population 100, 150. And they have a grocery store that's thriving. And Dane Hansen doesn't discriminate whether you're volunteer-led or have more paid leadership. People always tell me, you can't save all the towns, and I say, I want to work with those that have gumption to keep going. I don't care what their population is, but if they love their town, we're going to be there for them. You're going to be there for them. One more. Raise your hand. If you are 21 to 39 and ask yourself if you can say yes to this, and rural by choice, I just want you to stand up. If you are 21 to 39 and rural by choice, Now, I think we clapped because you stood up because you're rural by choice. Not just, I'm living in a rural town. You see the big difference. It is the most giant difference. And in a way, maybe that group that stood up was a little invisible until they stood up. I wonder about that. I had the most wonderful opportunity to do a project for the Office of Rural Prosperity, which was to interview 175 21 to 39s who are rural by choice. 30-minute interviews. It was during COVID, so we did it over the phone. And it was one of those events in my life that probably changed me. It changed how I looked at rural. It changed what kind of hope I have for rural. It made me just want to do anything for this age group. Now, I hope I've changed my speech 100 times since this started this morning. So I hope I come back to where I want to be. Remind me, I'm back to the report in a minute. But 2 conversations took place in the last few days. A friend of mine told me that a friend had called her and was just going on and on about how these young people in her office were just driving her crazy. And she went on and on with the reasons. And I want to read this. This is what my friend's reply was. And I thought this was just totally brilliant and not what I expected her to say, because you know how easy it is to just say, yeah, they're like that or something. But instead she said, I think you have an opportunity to find out if these people are feeling like they are thriving. And if not, you have an opportunity to help them figure out how to get there. They aren't acting like people who are really living their best lives. So why not? Is that the answer you expected? I thought that was beautiful. Someone else said to me about another young person. They said, this young person was complaining to them that and she's in her 20s, that she goes to all these meetings in town and nobody talks to her when she goes in the room. And the older person said, well, you just need to introduce yourself. You need to make yourself known. You need to get out there. And I'm sure there's some truth in that. But I also think we need to make young people feel welcomed into the circle. That's something we each can do. We always look for things we can do. How hard is it to say, I'm so glad you're here today, or how are things going? So, back to the report. Be back in a second. This report, which is on kansassampler.org, under what we do and then other things, and you'll find it. And I brought is there a place, Betsy, to put, I have some handouts, just the first page of it. Well, put them, okay, they'll be, okay. The second, I find the whole thing riveting because it's really the voice of these that I interviewed. We channeled it into a report, but it was really the voices of these 175. And the part that I liked the very most is the second part that we called Communities of the Future. And what we found was that these young people wanted to live in towns. This part gives me goosebumps. They wanted to live in towns that liked themselves. They wanted to feel welcomed. They wanted to be engaged. They wanted to be listened to. They wanted to live in a town that believed in itself and invested in itself. And I'm thinking, how hard is it to get there? Well, it's hard, but those are I just love the aspiration of those things. And you know what? I don't think it's just young people that want those things. I think every age wants to be listened to and engaged and live in a town that likes itself. When I was doing the guidebook research, this was the time before Wendy went with me, I would stop in a small town that was lucky enough to have a grocery store. And I would ask the clerk, and I never said really who I was or what I was doing. And I'd say, does your town shop here? And their answer would really give me a profile of the entire town. If the answer was no, and blah, 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 they're just, they go here and they go there. And well, that would tell me that the town wasn't very cohesive. It didn't like itself. If they told me, oh, this town is magnificent, they support us to no end, that told me everything I needed to know about that town. And, it was really that, it takes a while to realize that what we're saying is some towns like themselves, and sometimes it goes in cycles. People come in, people come out, people die, people move in. Oh, my brain's starting to dart all over. I think this is a Cortland story, but the outsiders, you might move into a town that your husband grew up in, but you, the spouse, are an outsider. So what this cool little town did was have an outsider party. Only outsiders could come to it. And it was just a marvelous time. And they, it was just a reason. In another town, they had a nice Hispanic population, and they decided, 2 churches did this. They said, one Sunday of the month, we'll bring the potluck and tell you about the recipes from our grandmas or our moms from our home country. And then the next month, you bring your potluck and we'll listen to your stories about your grandmas and your country. And I think it doesn't take that much thinking to get down the road a little bit with just easy ways that aren't that threatening to welcome each other. This welcoming thing, Doug, I know you're big on this because it's a thing. People just want to feel welcomed. If you don't, maybe you're a little different for whatever reason, and people never talk to you, you're going to leave. One person that I interviewed in this report was from LA. I'm going to try to not make it known who she is. I think this is in a county south of Hansen country, but she had gone to a college in Kansas. Her grandpa lived in Kansas City, so she graduated and she was looking for a job. And she got a call. She was in her car and it was kind of garbled. And the teaching opportunity interview was in Johnson. But she only knew Johnson County. Yeah. When she figured it out, she decided to go on the interview anyway, because they had been so pleasant on the phone. And you know what? She loved it. She took the job. She's been there at least 12 years. Her family is there now. She wouldn't leave for the world. Hi.
I am sorry to steal your show, but I know that you talked about the importance of giving young PowerUp.
We're going to do that now. You think this is a good time?
I think this would be a great time.
Okay. Thank you. I've got a sidekick helper here. You probably were surprised with that, but I wasn't. How much time are we at? We have 22 minutes left. So at this portion, I hope I get cooperation with this. Okay. If you are a PowerUp that stood up, would you come up here and join me? Because I just have a few questions for you, and so that you don't feel nervous, you don't all have to answer every question, just ones that you want to answer. Oh, Betsy, I thought you were the first one up. Just right up here. Right up here. I already have goosebumps. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I know. Some of you, now, you'll be my mic person. Some of you, is there anybody else that's shy that wants to come? Okay, good. Are some of you nervous about what's going to happen? Yeah, okay. Let's say I'm going to ask this first question. We're going to see how, no, I don't want to put you all on the spot. Thank you, Assistant Elizabeth Berger from Sunflower Foundation, folks. Okay. Maybe 6 of you on this one, and Betsy's going to jump around with the mic. Why are you rural by choice? Why did you choose to live in the town you're in? And when I say rural, I don't mean out in the country. I mean a small town, a community. So as Betsy's sprinting up and down the line, just sort of I need 6 of you on this one. Okay.
I would say because I cherish my upbringing, which was also rural.
That's great. Just short like that. Painless.
Because Moreland's got a lot of cool stuff.
Whoa! Need 4 more.
So I lived out east, close to a big city, and it is very different. So to be able to come back and make an impact, to be with my family and my nieces and nephews and be involved, you just can't replace that.
Would you say what town you're in?
Holyrood.
Holyrood. And you were what town? Minneapolis.
My county invests in my small business over and over and over again.
Yay. Town?
Phillips County.
Phillips County. What's your address? What town is your address?
Prairie View.
Hey, give Prairie View some love. Prairie View.
I'm from Beloit, and I grew up in a small school district, and you get more one-on-one time with your teacher, and you're constantly seeing that our education levels are higher than those in urban areas.
Thank you. 1 more. Then I have 3 more questions.
I'm from Cheyenne County. My name's Taryn Carmichael, and Bird City is where my town is, and I moved back to my hometown. So I took a job there, and for a place that has given me so much and helped me mold into the person that I am today, it's nice to give back to the community that watched me grow up, and now I get to go back and help them out.
Yay. Okay. That's a good format. We need 6 more. The question this time is, what makes you happy living in the town? Something that makes you happy about living where you are.
For me, it's affordability and creating friendships from all age groups. I love it.
What town?
Norton, Kansas.
Okay.
I me to be uncle to 3 nieces and 1 nephew in Hoxie. I had the other 2 nephews there for a little bit during COVID. So being family, being an uncle is a lot of fun.
It's the connection to the people. I mean, I've lived in big cities all my life, and I'm not near as connected to the people as I am now in Greenfield.
You feel like you can make a difference in Greenfield?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did they let you in? Yay, Greenfield!
Here, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I can be a full-time working mom and not miss anything for my kids or be home with them when they're sick and all of that.
Yeah. One more. Okay, we'll go to the next question. Were you okay? One thing you would improve, and this isn't. Watch the reframe thing here. It's not. I mean, it's just like I'd like better sidewalks so I can push my baby stroller around. Just something short. 6 of you.
So I grew up in a small town in southwest Kansas, and so I'm an import to the community that I live in now. I live in Cortland, and something that I would improve is I would say that we need to try harder to make communities more welcoming to young people, which we kind of touched on earlier. But.
Thank you, Kyra. What would you improve? Because I don't think they're all perfect yet, these towns. Okay.
Bigger thinking. So sometimes
that's
just
great.
Because we're small, we think on small level.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
I really liked what Doug said earlier about rethink how you're asking young people to get involved. Today we have cell phones with email that are constantly keeping us at work. So coming to a meeting at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday just isn't doable for some of us. And so that's one of the things that we've done. I'm Ashley Como, I'm in Plainville, Kansas. With Downtown Plainville Inc. is we've done this gig economy, which I've never heard it called that before, for volunteer work. And we just ask businesses or individuals, hey, can you take this on? No need to come to a meeting, just do this. And it's really helped our town festival elevate. It's really helped some of our quarterly events elevate. And I'd love for our community and other communities to think of more ways to really take advantage of how things have changed and get more young people involved.
Okay, just hold it on that one a second. We let a young person talk, and they gave us a key that committees aren't the same as they used to be. It's more, I can do this task for this amount of time. Just tell me the task, I'll do it. I can't be on a committee every week for 16 years. So, thank you, Ashley. Yeah.
That's a hard one to follow.
Yeah.
But open and honest communication.
That means something more, but we'll leave it at that.
I think for us, I personally think just the community work together better. In Gove County, I mean, we have different towns, and not being from there, I don't understand the divides. Like, I don't care. And so I don't, I want everyone to just come together and work together, but there are all these little lines, and that's what I see as being right now.
You know, we should all have T-shirts. Get rid of the lines or something, because big thing.
I think it would be really great if we could do a better job of promoting our stories and why we're so passionate about being rural. I grew up just southwest of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'm one of 5 children. I'm the one sister that my parents thought would be downtown, working very professional corporate jobs, and I'm the only one who lives rural. And at first it was kind of a shift for them to be like, what are you doing? But when they come and they see the community and the safety for our children and how you're able to build successful businesses and relationships, and it's just a really great place to be.
You're happy where you're at.
I love it.
Yay, she loves it. Okay, right there, and then one final question. Where's my timer?
I would say embracing growth and the hard work that comes with it.
13 minutes.
Thank you, Janny. Okay, the last question. How do we attract or retain young people? It's by making our communities as appealing as we can for them, for all ages. What could we do to make your life better? Short answers. We can go down the line. We can take 12 of you. Whoever wants to say something here gets to say it.
I guess I'll start. So something that I thought was very interesting, it's called the death of the social group. And I think with COVID, it's kind of further exacerbated that issue, and maybe a way to bring folks together somewhere outside of a bar, you know, whether it be a bowling alley, whether it be some sort of activity that, you know, involves physical movement, because I think the combination of relationships and doing something physical creates teamwork and you know, can bring a lot of people together.
Thank you. Hold on one second. Power-ups can be lonely because there aren't always a lot of them in some of the smallest towns. And so how we can bring them, how you all figure out how to socialize is really important, and we all need to encourage that. Anybody else? Yeah, what was it? How could we help make your life better? Like, keeping your school open, Melissa, or is, you know, what could we, I mean, it's a magic wand type of thing. Yeah, anything to make your life happier. I'll tell that story. Thank you.
I would say one thing, since I have moved back home and I've taken the job, and I know we've kind of talked about it here, just like the difference in age, generations, is communicate. And by communicate, I mean like tell us stories, because a lot of the time, you know, like I think we get looked at like, oh, they're young, they don't know, they haven't had experience, and we look at, you know, our older people like in our community, the movers and shakers and everything, and that can be intimidating too, because it's like we haven't done that before. So I guess like taking the time and sharing the stories and like working together, so that way the older generation has confidence in the upcoming generation, and we can learn from mistakes, or, you know, take the easier path because they are already paving the way.
So we all think this age group is just selfish, it's all about them. But she's saying, we want to connect, we want to hear your story too. Thank you.
Okay, so this kind of is like the third space, right? Like, so it's a combination of amenities and a third space. So whether it's a bar or a brewery or any connecting space that you can have in your community, because again, just my instance, you come into a small space, you're not from there, and you don't go to the church that's there, your kids aren't in school yet, there's nowhere to connect with anyone, literally, you know. So to have that third space for those guys.
It's okay.
I think events like this, that I get to connect with people that are more on my age group, because I do see myself being one of the very few people under 40, you know, that does get involved in my community. There are a few here and there, but I say like events like this that bring us all together and not only come up with solutions, but yesterday I think maybe an aha moment for me was like, oh, my county is not the only place that struggles with that, because you're frustrated at home and you think that it's just your town or your community that struggles with that. And so it's kind of nice to see, as bad as it sounds, oh, somebody else is struggling with that.
What town are you from?
Sharon Springs.
Okay. Just keep the mic going, and if you don't want to say something, keep passing it down.
I would say embrace your working parents.
Oh, good. Town?
Beloit, Kansas.
As a person with 3 jobs, I would love daycare in the evenings, so I have date night out with my husband.
That's great.
I share the sentiments of just more social opportunities with our peers, or, you know, singles opportunities to hang out. Not that I'm looking for anybody, but just to hang out.
Yeah.
Reinvestment in infrastructure. So you may have paved the road 20 years ago, but it needs to be done again.
Good.
We gotta pay for those things.
Good.
Okay, I guess I have two. The first would be the amenities. I really, really, really miss nice dinners. And a really nice wine list would be great.
Yeah.
Although I have 3 children and 2 jobs, so I don't get to do a lot of those things anyway. So even if it was there, I don't know if I would do it. The other thing I would say is, this isn't necessarily for me per se, but I think just for the community in general, I think if there was a good push for entrepreneurship, it would benefit us all. And I think it would energize the people of that age group to take on mentors and things like that. So.
Thank you. For not wanting to come up here, you've done a good job.
Mine's pretty simple, just stay positive. I think I grew up in St. Louis, so I see all the things that make people like Mitchell County fantastic. But the people that have lived there their whole lives sometimes don't see what we see. So listen to us when we tell you how great things are. Don't think we're just being nice. We are being nice.
Mine is start using quality of life arguments for recruitment instead of cost of living arguments for recruitment.
I'm going to say one of the hard things that I think everyone up here probably thought but hasn't said. Please be careful when you say you can make a good living here, because that can be interpreted many different ways. And I can almost promise you at least 90% of us up here have a vastly different student loan obligation than people did even 10 years ago. My husband and I are 4.5 years apart, and his student tuition was far different than what mine was at very different sizes of universities. He went to a much bigger university than I did. So be very careful, because your living also has to take into account the fact that you may not have had to pay back student debt. Your house may have been much more affordable. There are things like that. So brainstorm ways that you can help young people instead of just offering, for example, scholarships, maybe tuition reimbursement, or just be more mindful about how you say, come move to Plainville, Kansas, you can make a good living here, because when you got started, it may have been very different.
Thank you, Ashley.
I think one of the things that I hear a lot is just, well, that's not how we do things.
Okay.
So,
What would you like to hear?
So just reframe, like give us some, like a positive spin, or
like, hey, that's a good idea.
Yeah, allowing new ideas to,
wow,
to enter the conversation. It can be very, it can turn off a lot of young people, and that's why I think young people don't want to get involved, because, well, they don't want to hear what I have to say.
What town are you from?
Goodland.
Okay.
I also have two. The first one would be, I guess, some sort of young professionals organization. I think I would really benefit. I know a lot of other young people in the community would benefit from just networking with other young professionals, seeing kind of what they encounter in their professional life, things like that. And then the other one, which this has kind of already been said, but maybe just more of an open, cross-generational dialogue. I really resonated when Doug said, he's talking about when the old guy was like, well, how do we get more young people to move here? And you were like, shut up. Because I thought about someone, I'm like, I would have loved to have said that to that guy in that meeting, because he was being such a jerk. And so I guess just more kind of an open dialogue. And I'm like, okay, well, why do you think that? Or why can't we make that work?
Now, I have to say, she's reframing right now. She's saying, instead of you're a jerk, how could we look at that differently? Good example.
I really love when other people who've been through more share their success stories. And I think that's one thing that a lot of times they don't share, because they have a little bit of chip on their shoulder about how they got there. And so they bring the negativity instead of bringing the aha. And so we can celebrate their story, but also so we can copy them. So, thank you.
You guys, let's give them a hand. Here we have the March of the Future, folks. One reason I brought them up here, we say, how do we engage the youth? You bring them to the front. You ask them questions. It can be that easy. And I hope you'll see how it maybe transformed some thoughts you had. pretty awesome people. And I think it's our job to help them be as happy as can be in these communities, which mean if they're happy, I'm pretty sure they'll do work that makes us all happier too. I want to end on this note. In the interview, one person from a very small town, she said, all I want is to be able to eat some fresh lettuce when I go out and get some soft serve ice cream. And I say that example because sometimes young people don't need a whole lot. Sometimes they just want fresh lettuce. And I think we're also on our way with our food systems to maybe get more fresh lettuce out there. But I encourage you all to level up, to take advantage of these wonderful opportunities here with Dean Hansen, with thank you for now being just the Innovation Center. Am I saying it right? Because I could never get in order all the letters right. But and thank you for being a really good audience. Thank you.